You are Locked On Heat POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Wire to wire, buzzer to buzzer, beginning to end is the kind of day it was in Miami for the Heat against the Celtics, as they did not show up as the same team they were in Game 2 in Boston. They didn't bring it home with them for the home cooking, and they paid the price. The Heat blown out by the Celtics in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference opening round playoffs today. What's up, Heat fans? My name's Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and as always, you know this. You are listening to your Locked On Heat POSTCAST after every Miami Heat game, and if they keep playing like this, there won't be many more. Yeah, they're outgunned, outmanned, undermanned, and, Jimmy Butler and the Celtics are a great team, but you just sort of expect this Heat team after the play-in to the finals a year ago, after the trip to the finals in the bubble. The seedings don't matter as much to this team. Jimmy Butler's out, so what? The Heat culture, the Heat way. Spoelstra's a genius. Yeah, maybe. And what he did for Game 2 was brilliant. So we're never going to say anything bad about, Spo's been my boy since we were in our early 20s. The guy was working in a video room for the Heat, and I was working as an intern on Sunday Night Sports Wrap in Miami. I would go drive the Heat guests to the show, and he'd be one of them. And you know what? He is a genius. And Pat Riley is a great president and coach. It trickles down. You can have all the culture you want. You can have the greatest coaches in the world. I will tell you this right now. You could bring back Red Auerbach if you want to. You could bring back Phil Jackson. You could bring back Pat Riley. You could bring back any coach you want to coach the Miami Heat today against the Boston Celtics, and it would not have made one bit of a difference. And here's why. The Celtics came off that plane. And remember, they're 6-2 in their last 8 games in Miami, including the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago. They lost Game 7 at home. They're having a hard time against the Heat at home, playing 500 or less against them in the playoffs these last couple of years. But on the road in Miami, they got off that plane ready to handle business. And trust me, I lived there for 12 years. When you can go to Miami and be that focused on business, obviously you're locked in. And Jayson, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown lead the way for the Celtics today. 4 scoring in double figures for Boston, 22 apiece. Tatum had 11 rebounds. Again, this dude literally, what did he have? 28, 9, and 9 last game, 23, 10, and 10 the first game. He's literally almost right at a triple-double every game. He gets every call in the world. You can't breathe on him, can't even look at him sideways, but that's the superstar culture in the NBA. They sell tickets, they put butts in seats, they get eyes on the TVs, they get engagement on social media. Yeah, and I loved it when Highsmith threw his arms up in the air. They called a foul on Highsmith against Tatum tonight. He didn't even touch him. He didn't even breathe on him. And Highsmith's running to the ref like, well, I'm like, bro, save your case, man. You are not going to win that fight. You're not going to win that argument. But the Celtics, let's get back to them for just a second, because we could sit here all night and talk about the way the Heat did or didn't play. And they're not going to shoot 53.5% from 3 every night. It's just not going to happen. It's an abomination, right? If you're the Celtics, you can't let that happen again, especially after what Boston did in Game 1. The NBA is such a streaky league, especially in the playoffs, not even game to game, quarter to quarter, minute to minute, really, possession by possession in the NBA in the playoffs. And when I think about what Boston did tonight, they were embarrassed. They were ashamed. Their pride was crushed getting on that plane to Miami. This is the best team in the league in their eyes. This is the team that should smash everybody on their way to the playoffs. This is a team that after Miami beat them last year, there was no way they were going to lose focus. There was no way they were going to lose that momentum. There was no way until it happened in Game 2. And you know what? Every championship team has that game. I remember the Lakers, and I'm only saying this because my mom's here and she's listening. In 1985, the Celtics beat the Lakers 148-114 on Memorial Day in Boston Garden. And guess who won that series? Yes, the Lakers. So you can have a bad game in a series. You can even get blown out in a series, come back and win. This Boston team, though, and this isn't a Celtics show, thank God, but this Boston team is not good enough. They're not good enough to lose their focus and still win, even against the Heat, even without Jimmy Butler, even with a bunch of guys in the starting lineup for Miami besides the Olympian Bam Adebayo. When you're looking around and go, would these guys even start at their positions for any other team in the league? Would Caleb Martin start for – how many teams would he start for? How many teams would Tyler Hero start as the 2 guard for? Think about this logically. How many teams are you looking team by team in the NBA, go through their starting lineups, replace anybody in that lineup with a Heat starter? Bam Adebayo is about the only one with Jimmy Buckets out, and they still ran the Celtics off the floor and shot the lights out. You're still NBA players. when you shoot that well, you're going to win. And they just were on fire that night, and they weren't tonight. They shot 31%, whereas in the game 2 blowout win in Boston, they shot the lights out, man. 53.5. The Celtics, played balanced basketball tonight. And I love it when Joe Mazzulla talks like he knows how to coach. I mean, every Celtics fan knows the gig is up. You don't make the finals. You don't win the finals, Joey. You're out. You're out. See Nurse Nick. Yeah. See Coach Bud in Milwaukee. When those expectations are here and you don't get here, see ya. And that's where Mazzulla's headed right now, toward the door. He talked about the Celtics playing harder, dictated the physicality and the tempo of the game. Yeah, they did. And Miami couldn't get out of their own way. The Heat were turning the ball over like crazy in the first half. The Celtics hold Miami to 12 points in the first quarter. Last time we saw the Heat, they were scorching the Nets right out of the TD North Garden. Is it the TD Garden, TD North Garden, whatever it is? Thank God it's not Boston Garden anymore. But when you think about what they did to the Celtics in game 2, another factor there was Porzingis played like dog crap in game 2, and he shot really well tonight as he did in game 1. Derek White's always going to give you double digits. He's consistent in that spot. Drew Holiday doesn't need to score. Porzingis is up and down. Tatum and Brown are both balling out of control right now, and they need to, because this is a tough go for them. And I believe they'd get Indiana in the next round, and Indiana and OKC were the teams that gave the Celtics the most trouble this year. And obviously the Heat have been a little bit of a nemesis. But, last year, game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 2022, the Celtics won 93-80. That's the last time we saw these kind of numbers from Boston on defense. The Heat had outscored more than 84 points, or had scored more than 84 points in every game since, and the Celtics had allowed more than 84 in every game since. And Jayson Tatum said it best after the game. He said, that's where we're going to win games, on the defensive end. When you get into the playoffs, when you get into possession by possession, when you get into different officiating crews working different games and different refs and different calls, and it's a different game, a different flow, and a different tempo in every single game of the series, there are so many variables that you have to work your way through night in and night out, and game in and game out in the playoffs. And the one thing that you can always count on, Pat Riley told me this one time, the one thing you can always count on is your effort. The one thing you can always count on is your effort. Your shots aren't always going to be there. Your legs aren't always going to be there. Your wind isn't always going to be there, the cardio. Your mental aptitude is not always going to be as strong as it is on some nights more than others. Those things are going to be there to varying degrees of effectiveness and visibility night in and night out. But the one thing you always control as an athlete, as an individual, as a competitor, you always control your effort. Nobody can ever make you play harder if you don't want to. And nobody can stop you from balling out when you're doing it. So it doesn't matter what the refs do. It doesn't matter what the opponent does. You always control your effort. You can be topping that off at 100 day in and day out, and you should be, right? The Heat looked flat. They looked listless. I hate saying, and this is, I was never a professional athlete, first of all. And second of all, I just think it's very disrespectful to the best in the world to say things like the Heat were listless. They looked like they didn't show up. They didn't look like they were into the game. Those are things that I don't like to say. I tread very lightly when I say those things about professional athletes in professional sports. You see it all the time now with everybody getting ripped. But what I will say is this. The Heat always put forth max effort. They had a real hard time taking care of that ball tonight. They turned it over a ton of times. They got beat on the glass again. So the effort was there for Miami, but it wasn't there like it was for the Celtics. The Celtics came in like a team possessed, like a team that had one foot in the ground all of a sudden. And they did, if you think about it, because that mentality starts to creep up on you. Hey, we've been here before. Hey, we've let this happen before. Hey, they beat us last year. And that fan base is rabid. They want a chip so bad. They want number 18 in there. They want that chip so bad they can taste it. Haven't had one since 2008. This is a different era of Celtics ball. This isn't the big three with Rondo and Doc anymore. The Bird Celtics are a distant, distant memory. And, this team in this era wants to put its mark and leave its mark on that building, on that franchise. And the only way to do that, if you play for the Boston Celtics, the only way you even matter when you play for the Boston Celtics. Ask Paul Pierce before and after. The only way you even matter when you play for the Celtics, the only way you even leave a legacy is if you win a championship. And if you don't, there's no legacy, and you're not even really a Celtic to those people. And yeah, you can ask Joe Mazzulla how he feels about that. You're watching your Miami Heat Locked On Heat postcast. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, right here on your Locked On Sports Miami channel. We've been on Locked On NBA. We've been on The Daily Show, which I'll tell you more about in a minute. And man, this is the new takeover, the Locked On initiative for 2024, the postcast, your team, your city, Locked On, your team every day. When I get going again with the show, I want to tell you exactly what Miami needs to do moving forward in this series to start playing better, create more open looks, get some shots that were knocked down the other night. And then they didn't get as good a looks tonight. Make no mistake about it. The Celtics had extra effort and intensity on defense. We'll break that down on the other side. This is your Locked On Heat postcast. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. And this, as always, gives me an opportunity to tell you about one of the people who we know and love so much on our show. And those are the sponsors. Without them, there'd be no us. And without you, there'd be no us. So we really love that. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you as well for making Locked On your first listen every day. We're free, available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network is your Locked On Heat postcast. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And one of the great companies and the folks helping us keep you locked in and locked on is Nissan, one of the great car companies in the world. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Well, our friends at Nissan like to think they are the adventure because they have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. I wonder if I should talk about the Rogue for sure. And then maybe I've always loved them Nissan Pathfinders, right? The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive, Google built in as your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. You're not connecting your phone, Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store. They're built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system in the 2024 Rogue. It's the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure, as is the Pathfinder SUV, an icon in the automotive world, has room for up to 8 and expansive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capability with 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Locked On Heat postcast is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Think about that. Just the phrase itself, BetterHelp. BetterHelp, right? So you think about this for 1 second, all right? BetterHelp is unbelievable. And this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And BetterHelp is a great opportunity and resource and all sorts of things for any of us right now. When you think about BetterHelp and the way the world's going right now, times are tough. Nobody I know has it easy. Inflation, jobs, AI is taking whatever it is that's stressing you out. And the next segment is brought to us by our sponsor at BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big, small. Certain things can really start to get to you. Happens to me all the time. I'm in counseling. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. I love working with BetterHelp. And BetterHelp is wanting to let you know that therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. So smooth with the commercial breaks, getting better and better every day. It's the clicks these days. You know, the old radio days, you had first of all, you had the tape and the reel and all that stuff, and carts. And oh man, this is easy now in this day and age. We're continuing on with your Miami Heat It's the Locked On Heat postcast here on your Locked On Sports Miami YouTube channel, wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, this is important, right? You know where you're listening right now, but if you're not listening or if you're listening somewhere else, you know where you can find us, right? So we're on Spotify, we're on iHeart, we're on Apple Music, we're on Stitcher, Podbean, you know what I'm saying? Like everywhere you find your podcast, we are here with your Locked On Heat postcast, also doing the Marlins, also doing the Dolphins in football season, and right here, baby, the U. Let's go, Mario. I did FIU Golden Panther football for a couple of years, doing the pregame and postgame shows, halftime at the stadiums, and got to know Coach Cristobal pretty well. Of course, I'm a UM grad, so there's that. But I like a lot of what the Hurricanes are doing and what they seem to be getting ready for this year. There's a storm brewing, baby, in the 305. And the storm that's happening right now is that the Miami Heat just got blown out of their building. By the way, did you see that tornado in Nebraska today? Man, that thing was crazy, just going right at people. And you're looking at what the Heat were able to do today, and as opposed to game two. What they were able to do, in game two, as opposed to today. The Celtics led wire to wire. It was important to them. They came out and they stepped on the throat of the Miami Heat from the second this game started. And when you look at what Miami did to start this game, and Adebayo jumps against Porzingis, who's 7'3". Nikola Jovic misses a 25-footer. He takes a 25-foot three right off the jump. So Jayson Tatum gets the rebound. No score for a while in this game. Is about 2 minutes in. Porzingis hits a three, and then Bam Adebayo makes a two-pointer, but then the Celtics never gave up the lead. There was a couple of ties there. It was 3-3. Porzingis made another shot, scored the first 5 points, the first 8 points for the Celtics tonight. Porzingis with 2 threes, and after he shot 1 for 9 from 3 the other night, to come out that hot for Boston in game 3 tonight was a huge thing for them. And I can't wait to see what Miami does adjustment-wise, because they were able to get Porzingis out of the paint and get him those threes on offense, but the Celtics were able to leave him in the paint on defense. They need to find some pick and roll mismatches or something, because Porzingis cannot just hang out in the paint and block shots at 7'3". And on the other end, he's out on the perimeter. Man, that's a disadvantage. You try to put Bam on him, and Bam likes to be underneath. Bam can shoot a three here and there, but you know what I'm saying. So anyway, the Celtics run the Heat out of the building. They shoot the lights out. The Heat only scored 12 points in the first quarter. As well as they played, as great as they shot the other night, to come out and lay that kind of egg in the opening quarter on your home floor, and you're still only down 9. So you're Spo at the end of the first, like, guys, we shot terrible. We played terrible. We're turning the ball over. It's like we didn't even show up till halfway through the first quarter, and we're only down 9 on our home floor, guys. This is nothing. We got this, right? Then the Celtics come out and go on it was either 12 or a 14-0 run to start the second quarter. They scored 42 points in that quarter, and to go along with the 21, and they had 63 in the half. And, when you put a 42-point quarter and you hang a 42-point quarter on your opponent in the NBA playoffs, you're not going to lose many of those games. So that was a big part of it. They set the tone early on defense. They clamped down on the Heat. They focused on D. They said, we're going to come out and we're going to shut you down. We're not worried about anything else. We're taking this as an affront to our manhood, man. Let's go. You ever play pickup? We all did, right? I played ball growing up. I mean, we all played organized ball too, but especially pickup, right? The pride's on the line. You hit that ground. Let's go. This is pride. This is manhood. This is, I'm locking you down. You're my guy, and I am locking you down with my defense. And it started with Tatum, and it started with Brown, and Porzingis scored the first 8 points. They were more than happy for that, because Tatum and Brown, the stars, this is one thing I love about these dudes. They rolled up the sleeves, they grabbed the lunch pail, they rubbed some dirt on it, and they went out there and they got filthy and they got nasty and they shut the Heat completely down. So then you're up 9 at the end of 1. What do? You say, you know what? We're going to turn on the offense now, right? So the Celtics put that 42-point quarter on them. And, after that, it was all she wrote. Was it 63-39, a 39-point half for Miami? And they still got outscored in the third quarter. And by then the game was over. It ended up being a 20-point win for the Celtics. And you can look at all the things that you want statistic-wise. They got out-rebounded. They had more turnovers. All the numbers tell the tale. But the one thing that you can never mention, the one thing that you can never measure, the one thing that you can never, ever measure in a box score, you have clues, but the one thing you'll never be able to measure in a box score is what? Anyone? Effort. You come down and you smack that floor and you go, let's go. You ain't scoring on me. I got you locked down. That's what made the Heatles so great. LeBron, Bosh, and Wade were literally, all three of them could have been on first team all defense every year. And they took that pride in their defensive games. And they took as much pride, if not more, in shutting you down than they did scoring more than you did. And that's when that championship mindset is developed. The best teams, the best champions in NBA history, they were almost sadistic about their defense. They want to lock you down, and they don't want to let you breathe. You think the Warriors won championships with offense? It all started with their defense. Yeah, they run a lot off the ball. Clay and Steph for years running miles a night. It was a brilliant offense from Steve Kerr, but defense, deflections, steals, offensive rebounds, second chances, opportunities, limiting your opponent to one shot. That's what the Celtics did tonight. They took pride in that, and they said, we're coming out there, and we are just going to take the ball to the rim. Tatum took the ball to the rim all night, and this dude just made a living at the stripe tonight, 8 for 12 from the line, and overall, not a lot of free throws shot in tonight's game. Miami went 11 of 14 from the line. They only went 9 for 28 for 3. And, that really another thing in this series, there's no Kevin Love, and he can't even give you those 10, 12 good minutes because you play zone when he's in. The Celtics are great against that zone. So that takes away the effectiveness of having Kevin Love in there to shoot a little bit for you, that championship experience. I like what Jovic is doing. Caleb Martin did not have a good game after a great one last time out. That's a disappointment. You expect him to at home, but they completely shut him down. Bam's been great. He got 20 again with 9 rebounds. He's been terrific in this series. That's what Bam's going to give you. 20 and 10, and he's going to give you some blocks, and he's going to give you some altered shots. He's going to knock some guys down on the ground, a physical presence in there, and you love that about Bam. Highsmith had 8 tonight on 4 of 7 shooting. That was awesome, but he didn't make a 3. Patty Mills made a couple threes, but when you look at what the Miami Heat did not do tonight, and look, Rozier's still out with the neck spasms, Jimmy Butler with a sprain right MCL. Richardson's still out with the shoulder surgery. DeLon Wright didn't play for personal reasons, whatever that is. He's been pretty good in the series too. So they didn't have him. Duncan Robinson in 7 minutes didn't attempt a shot. They closed out on him. And so they just weren't able, when a great team with great athletes has superior athletes, when they put it together. Now, we've always said this, right, in sports. Hard work beats talent when what? When talent doesn't work hard. And you can take that to mean whatever you want it to mean in this context because it's pretty simple, right? It just means that when the effort's not maxed out on defense, loose balls, rebounding, when you're not playing like a man possessed, like a demon in the playoffs, you're not playing hard enough. And that's the way the Celtics played to start this game. And when your stars and your superior athletes play harder, yeah, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But when talent works hard, hard work has no chance. Not hard work that is being matched in that type of work output by the talented team. And in this case, the Celtics are more talented. It sounds almost ludicrous to say this about NBA players. They're all incredible. But when you got Tatum and Brown, they're literally 2 first-team guys. Any year in and year out, they could be. Porzingis is an all-NBA type talent. Holiday, the dude's unbelievable, right? And he's on the Olympic team with Bam. And so this team is loaded all the way across the board. And when they decide to play like that, play hard and with that effort and take away your opportunities with their defense, you got no chance. You got no chance. And that's what happened to Miami tonight. So with all this being said, what can the Heat do in game 4? How do they now readjust? Because we told you between game 1 and game 2, Eric Spoelstra was brilliant. Instead of sending everybody with the driver, Tatum loves to drive and dish. Brown does too, but not as much, right? Tatum loves to drive and dish. So instead of collapsing on Tatum, leaving shooters open, they stayed home with the shooters, and they said they're going to live with it and let Tatum beat them. Well, tonight, Tatum didn't have the assists. He ended up with 6 assists, but they did a pretty good job still on defense. Boston didn't kill him with the threes tonight. They made 15, but that's not like the 22 in game 1. Tonight was rebounds. Tonight was turnovers. Tonight was just a listless performance from Miami, and they didn't shoot really well. So I will tell you what the Heat can do, because between game 1 and game 2, they stopped collapsing on the drivers, stayed home on the shooters. That was a big part of what they did, and obviously they cranked up that effort. Now in game 3, Boston readjusted with the intensity, right? Looking for Porzingis early, looking to get Tatum going early offensively. And right away, it was clear they were going to Porzingis because they know when he's shooting well, they get him involved early. He plays well throughout the night. They're literally almost impossible to beat. When Porzingis puts up 15, 20 points or more, they're literally almost impossible to beat. This is your Locked On Heat postcast. It's a beautiful day in the MIA, not for the Heat fans, but this time of year is incredible. The Celtics enjoying it after that win. Game 4 is on Monday. Let's talk about the adjustments that Miami needs to make on the other side when we wrap it up on your Locked On Heat postcast here on your Saturday. There we go. Load for me. Just took a couple of minutes and tell you about my friends at LinkedIn. And LinkedIn's a good sponsor for us here on the Locked On Sports, Locked On Podcast Network, guys. And where did we go? There it is, LinkedIn Talent Solutions. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Look, I've been hired off LinkedIn. I've hired people off LinkedIn. I've found people to work with off LinkedIn. It's incredible. LinkedIn Jobs is absolutely incredible. It's not just a job board. It helps you. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's 86%. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker, right? This world, we want to go faster and faster. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. That's 2.5 million and growing every day. So what are you waiting for? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they apply. Don't they always, right? And we want to thank you, as always, for making Locked On Heat and your Locked On Heat postcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And I absolutely love being here. Thank you guys for being here with me tonight. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, right here with your Locked On Heat postcast. Locked On Sports Miami on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts, in this case, your postcast, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, iHeart, and all the way across the board. And we will be here again. Want to remind you, on Monday night, right after that game, we'll be here live, and we'll be here every other day with your Marlins postcast. And if the games are far enough apart during the day, and we can do both one day, and you'll just have a smorgasbord. And LinkedIn's happy because they just got a whole bunch more time with that overlay, and they deserve it. You know, hire somebody today. LinkedIn Jobs. As we wrap it up on your Locked On Heat postcast on your beautiful Saturday evening, but not a good night for the Heaters. They drop 104-84. Game 3 to the Boston Celtics, the odds-on favorite to go to the NBA Finals. Everyone thinks it's going to be Boston and Denver again. Nuggets looking to close out the Lakers tonight in LA, and you know, I mean, they're a really good team, a fantastic team. You know, Dallas could make some noise in there if the Clippers get hot in there. Some pretty good teams out west. Minnesota, man. Minnesota and OKC. Balance of power switching to it. If you think about Memphis with Ja with a full year next year, man, he just wasted a whole year of his life. I hope that kid learned his lesson, because Memphis with Ja, New Orleans coming up now with Zion, if he can stay healthy, there's a lot in Wemby in San Antonio. The Western Conference is pretty dope. But in the East, you got the Heat. You know, obviously, you got to extend the series and maybe get a chance to win it and eventually maybe get Jimmy Butler back. But I don't think that's going to happen this year for Miami. And, you know, I'd like to see the Heat improve that team a little bit. You know, we'll see what they do with Jimmy's contract in this offseason. But we're going to wrap it up here on your Locked On Heat postcast. Game 3 is Monday night in the 3:05. And I told you I'd tell you what adjustments the Heat can make. The biggest thing to me for Game 4, because you had the adjustments in between the two games in Boston. The Celtics haven't murdered you with the three since then, and you just are not going to shoot 53% every night. A lot of those looks that the Heat missed tonight, Tyler Herro and guys like that in particular, those are probably going to fall in game 4. So it literally goes without saying it's a must win, do or die for Miami on Monday night. They will come out with that kind of intensity. They will come out with that kind of fire. The questions are, and the only way they're going to win this series is to shoot their lights out. That's the only way. They have no other way to beat this Celtics team. They're not going to do it with effort and defense. They're not going to do it. They're not going to out-rebound them. They don't have better players. They don't have star players. The 3 best players in this series, arguably, play for the Celtics. Maybe 4. If you think, minus Bam Adebayo's in there, and he's the only one out. If you're picking a 5 to run with from these 2 teams, Bam's the only guy in there that you're picking from the Heat, if any, right? Because you got Tatum, you got Brown, you got White, you got Porzingis, you got Holiday. So let's be real. The only way the Heat are winning this series, the only way is to outshoot Boston dramatically like they did in game number 2. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No. Well, maybe they get lucky and get a lottery pick and get a bigger pick. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know. But what I do know is this. The Heat will come out and they'll have guns blazing in game 4. And if they lose that one, it won't be for a lack of effort. It'll just be, you ready for this one? Because the Celtics are better without Jimmy Butler especially. And the Celtics were better last year, if you want to know the truth. On paper, on the court, and everything, the Heat just took it from them. But Jimmy Butler impacts the game in so many ways, and they don't have him now. So you got to shoot the lights out to win this series. Your only hope, you got to come out and shoot 40% from 3 every single night. 45, 50 would be amazing, but you got to shoot 40 from 3 every night if you want to have a hope to win this series. All right, Heat fans, that's all there is. There is no more. The Mad Dog Jim Manish, my guy up there. Got to show my love and props to him. But the Heat drop Game 3, 104-84 at the Kaseya Center tonight in Miami. The Celtics take a 2-1 lead. Brown, Tatum, 22 points apiece. Bam had 20 for Miami. The Heat scored only 12 in the first. They allowed 42 in the second, and that was all she wrote. I bet you dollars to donuts you won't see another 40-point quarter from the Celtics in this series. Just keep your eyes on that and pay attention. Before we get out of here, I want to remind you one more time that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the app for free. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV app. And you want to make sure you check that out. I'll even be on there sometimes having some fun with the guys. So that's it. We'll talk to you Monday night. Heat fans, keep your game tight and your mind right. And hopefully the Heat can get those shots to fall on Monday night. I'm out.